This is the San Francisco 49ers Report, and coming up, we're going to open up the floor and take all of your questions from our loyal subscribers. One of my favorite segments right here on the show because we get to hear from you, and you have a platform to share how you're feeling about this football team and ask questions that you want answers to. I'm here to provide that. But first, today's show is sponsored by 8 Sleep. If you want to change your sleep, 8 Sleep is the answer. $200 off and free shipping on the new pod cover by going to 8sleep.com/chatsports. We'll tell you more about them coming up here in just a few moments. So free agency set to get underway on Monday. A lot of you want to know what the Niners' plans are, some potential targets, draft at the end of April. So let's just do it here. HF, $5 super chat. I hate to say it, but trade Deebo Samuel. He's been hurt way too often. Extend Brandon Aiyuk and draft a wide receiver. I get what you're saying. Deebo Samuel signed that 3-year, $70+ million contract extension. He's been injured a lot. His production has been lower than what you anticipated from the 2021 season when he was an all-pro, absolute game changer, and an MVP candidate down the stretch. When that offense needed a big play, they went to Deebo. Kick returner, running back, wide receiver. He gives it all to you. But his playing style, very physical. How does he age? If injuries have been an issue for him, are they going to continue to be an issue at that price point? Can you afford to pay 2 wide receivers $50 million? That's a tall ask. What I think the Niners' plan might be is to run it back with this core for 2024. And then next offseason, depending on how the 2024 campaign goes, that's when you have to make more difficult decisions. Now, the NFL salary cap is going to continue to be on the uptick. So that's going to give clubs more money. But again, paying 2 wide receivers $50 million is a lot. So I think what the Niners' plan might be, give Brandon Aiyuk a contract extension, lowers the cap hit for 2024, backload that deal, so you don't have to worry about 2 wide receivers making a lot of coin for 2024. Next offseason, you either cut or trade Deebo Samuel. This year in the draft, you draft a wide receiver in the 1st or 2nd round, Xavier Worthy at 31. Another wide receiver in a deep wide receiver class in round 2. You develop them this year. You have them be a primary focal point next year. Let go of Deebo. Then you have Aiyuk and that second-year player. Maybe you have Juwan Jennings still on the team, and that's kind of the plan at wide receiver. Interested to see what the Niners do. Gump Wolf, $50 super chat from one of our legends here on the show. Justin Simmons would be a good pickup to help just in case Talanoa Hufanga is unable to go. Hi, Chase Faithful, and welcome to the show, Wiggins. Welcome to the show, Wiggins. Gump Wolf, you bring up a good point. But I will say this. I think that Talanoa Hufanga is going to be able to be back just because of the medical advancements of ACL tears. I remember when I was growing up, I was born in 92, growing up in, let's say, the early 2000s. You suffered a torn ACL. At that point, it was still looked at as like a potential career ender or like a 12 to 16 month injury. And now players are coming back in 8 months from a torn ACL. So if Hufanga is going to be ready for the offseason activities, I'm really high on a Talanoa Hufanga, Jair Brown safety tandem. I think both of them are really quality instinctual players who are tough and bring that hard-nosed element to your defense. Justin Simmons, for the last 5 years, he's been a second-team All-Pro. He's led the NFL in interceptions since coming into the league in 2016. He's been a ball hawk. But I don't know if the Niners, because they have Hufanga and Jair Brown, are going to pay him the money that Justin Simmons might want in free agency, where he can go to another Super Bowl contender and get paid a little bit more. I do like the thought, though. As I mentioned off the top, today's 49ers Report is sponsored by 8 Sleep. And let me pose this question for everybody watching the show. Do you want to sleep better? Do you want to sleep to power a whole new you? Do you want basically what is a mattress pad that you can lower and have temperature control go down to 55 degrees or up to 110 degrees? 8 Sleep is your answer. The pod cover will improve your sleep by automatically adjusting your bed's temperature based on your individual needs. The cover can be added to any bed like a fitted sheet and allows you and your partner to cool or warm your side of the bed as low as 55 degrees and up to 110 degrees. In addition to keeping you at the perfect temperature all night, the pod also tracks your sleep and your health metrics. On average, pod users see their sleep quality improve by 32% after just a month on the pod. There is no better way to improve your day-to-day life better than sleep. And the easiest way to do that is with the 8 Sleep Pod 3. Start the new year right and invest in the rest that you deserve with the 8 Sleep Pod. Everything can be controlled by the power of your phone. You could put this device right next to your bed. So go to 8sleep.com/chatsports. When you use that link, you get $200 off plus free shipping on the pod cover by 8 Sleep, and you invest in the rest that you deserve. I know a lot of you have been in the comment section saying, Chase, you look tired, your eyes, you need some more sleep. I'm working on it. But all this week, I've been on the Pod 3 cover. Sleep has been better. I'm looking less tired. I'm feeling great. And the run streak is past 300. Gump Wolf, $10 super chat. Chugs, you are a great fit for the show. Producer Jeremy Chugs is a legend here at Chat Sports. So everybody type Chugs down in the chat right now. Our guy Bryant, I want Chris Jones. Chris Jones is a fascinating conversation to have because Chris Jones has wrecked the Super Bowl chances in Super Bowl 54 in 2019 and then in Super Bowl 58 this past season. I think he's been the best defensive tackle in the game the last couple of years over Aaron Donald. Good against the run, good against the pass. He's dominated the interior of this Niners offensive line, throwing cats at the club like it's nothing. He's very good at generating pressures and sacks on the quarterback, but because he's such a game changer, where I kind of look at him, quickness of Reggie White, power of Warren Sapp, a team's going to be willing to pay him $30+ million per year, and the Niners are already paying big-time money to Javon Hargrave and Eric Armstead. So it's a pipe dream. It would be incredible. Just don't think it's realistic. Jacob Martin, unpopular opinion. If the Niners get the right side of the offensive line fixed, both guard and tackle in free agency, they can get a corner in the draft. Who would you take? I would say Kool-Aid McKinstry. So Kool-Aid McKinstry, I think he's going to fall to 31 because of the Jones fracture in his foot. According to sources, Cooper DeJean out of Iowa, the Niners have shown interest in him. He didn't partake in the workouts at the NFL Scouting Combine. He could slip a little bit in the draft. Is he a safety? Is he a corner? He's a rare member of the White Corner Club, so we'll see what position he plays. Kool-Aid McKinstry is awesome. I think his teammate Terrion Arnold is a little bit better, but Kool-Aid has ball skills, interception skills, coverage skills. Doesn't necessarily have the long speed, but I love what he said at the Combine, where he's like, cornerbacks who show off long speed are oftentimes the corners who get beat. It's kind of a good point. Like, you have to have instincts, you have to have feel, you have to have toughness. He could play a little press man, he could play in the zone at 31. That'd be pretty good. And Jacob, there's a possibility that the Niners just go offensive tackle, offensive guard in free agency, allowing them to go cornerback 31. They could go defensive line 31 to get a run stuffer. The options are open, and we'll find out starting on Monday what the Niners' plans are. What is your unpopular opinion that you have? Jacob, starting that question off. I like it. John Edwards, $10 super chat. Do you think that Andy Reid will recognize Kyle Shanahan during his Hall of Fame speech for helping him become one of the top 5 coaches in NFL history? Legitimately, Andy Reid, now that he has 3 rings, might be the best offensive mind at the head coaching spot outside of Bill Walsh in NFL history, and he's definitely a top 5 coach in the history of the game. I heard John Middlecoff, who has a 3 and Out podcast on the Volume Podcast Network. Had a great decade-long run with Guy Haberman on the Haberman and Middlecoff podcast. That's the pod I started to listen to when I took over the 49ers Report to be well-versed in talking about the Niners. John's going to do his own thing. Guy's going to do his own thing. But Middlecoff said the other day, and it was hilarious, Andy Reid is the fat Bill Walsh. And he really is. Like, West Coast offense, innovative mind, creative mind, elevates the play of the quarterback, very creative. And he's become a top 5 coach by winning these 3 Super Bowls. And Kyle Shanahan has become the victim of 2 of those Super Bowl wins. And the parallels between Andy Reid early in Philadelphia and Kyle Shanahan with San Francisco, they're so close. Andy Reid, starting in 2000, made it to 4 straight NFC Championship games, multiple big game collapses and choke jobs, made it to Super Bowl 39 and lost to the New England Patriots. Awful clock management, offensive guru who can never win the big one. He was in Philly for 14 years, 5 NFC Championship games, 1 Super Bowl appearance. And now you have Kyle Shanahan, offensive guru, very creative, awesome play caller like Andy Reid, has changed the way that the game of football is played with the offensive system and the play designs and the play calling. But one thing has evaded Kyle Shanahan like Andy Reid in Philadelphia, winning the big game. They're also both terrible at game management. Kyle Shanahan, 4 NFC Championship games in 5 years, 2 Super Bowl appearances in that stretch, and hasn't won the big game. I think, like Andy Reid, Kyle Shanahan soon is going to win a Super Bowl, and when he does, you can't really write the history books of the NFL without the imprint of Kyle Shanahan. And I like what Mike Shanahan said. How do you get over a heartbreaking loss? You just got to fucking keep on moving. That's basically what he said. Draco, top 5 draft crushes for the Niners. Ooh, good question. Graham Barton, offensive lineman out of Duke. Max Melton, cornerback out of Rutgers. Kingsley Suamataia, offensive tackle out of BYU. J.C. Latham out of Alabama. I say that because he might fall to the Niners at 31. But Troy Fatanu is a fucking dog. So those are 4 right there. I'll go to a skill position player next, I guess. Man, the wide receiver position is so fascinating. The fact that Brian Thomas is like 200 plus pounds and ran a 4.4, that's a draft crush for me. So that's 5 right there. I might just keep it going. A.D. Mitchell, he ran fast. I think he's going to be the better player than Xavier Worthy. I like Xavier Worthy as a fit on the Niners because the vertical threat with Deebo and Aiyuk would be absolutely fascinating. But those are some draft crushes for me, for sure. Mr. Laidback 808. Which players will the Niners draft? Brendan Rice, Frank Gore Jr., or Luke McCaffrey? I think all 3 are realistically in play, and I think the Niners might give into the family business element of this. But look, Brendan Rice is a good wide receiver, ran a 4.5, so he's not all that fast. He's like 6'2", 200 pounds, a little bit bigger, a little bit taller than his pops. Luke McCaffrey ran a faster 40-yard dash than Christian, and he could be a really good slot receiver who can just put you in a turnstile out of the slot. And then Frank Gore Jr., late-round pick. Niners need a backup running back. I like his balance. He said he's a little bit more agile than his dad, while his dad was a little bit more physical. I honestly think, and I'm not just saying this, I think all 3 are in play. I did a full breakdown on all 3 of these players on the 49ers report, so go back and check that out. How about them Niners? What do you think about adding a nickel like Kenny Moore or a safety like Ashton Davis in free agency? I like the idea. And it all kind of comes down to how the Niners envision Deommodore Lenoir's future. He's up for a contract extension. He doesn't have that 5th-year option availability because he was a 5th-round pick out of Oregon. That only goes to 1st-round picks. Do you see him as a slot or do you see him as a perimeter corner? If he's an outside guy, you got to address slot nickel. You tried to do that this past offseason, and it didn't work. And you look at a player like Kenny Moore. I've profiled him a lot here on the show. He could play the run. He could set the edge. He's a good tackler. He's a pretty good cover guy. I don't know about Ashton Davis, but slot nickel or another safety who can play slot nickel hybrid linebacker type, I would like that type of player. You do have that type of guy in Talanoa Hufanga, who's that hybrid linebacker safety prototype, but I would like a slot corner for sure. Again, it kind of comes down to how you vision the role being of Deommodore Lenoir. If you want him to continue to be a slot guy, then you have to kind of address outside corner. So who's your top free agent target? Let me know down in the chat. Drop me some names. Always want to hear your feedback and your intellect right here on the show. Nobody killed you. I'm still alive. I want to live for a really, really long time because I love life. So I'm glad I'm still standing here. Do you think things would be different between Andy Reid and Travis Kelce if they lost? No, because you still have the 2 rings, and you're looking at the season and you're like, wow, our offense wasn't good all year. We underperformed. We still made it to the Super Bowl when nobody thought we were, and we made it to back-to-back Super Bowls. And Andy Reid basically said, like, yeah, never do that again, but look, Travis Kelce is a competitor. Andy Reid acknowledged that. And in the heat of the moment, when you're in the foxhole, you want nothing else than to have a guy like Travis Kelce who's a foxhole guy, who's an uber competitor. Elvin, $10 super chat. Can the surprise move be Danielle Hunter or Brian Burns? Danielle Hunter, I think, is in play. He's 5th in the NFL in sacks in 2023 with 16.5. Brian Burns, because he got franchise tagged, would have to be a trade candidate. So you'd have to give up capital to trade for him, and then you'd have to give him a contract extension. So of those two, I'd say Brian Burns, the least likely. Before we hop on out of here, make sure you give me a follow on X at Chase_Senior. Give me a follow on Instagram at Chase_Senior. Here on the show, we give you long-form content, short-form content. Sometimes, though, I love talking ball so much, I love talking Niners so much that I'll put up my phone and I'll just rap for a few minutes, and I put that on my social media pages. Interact with me over there.